on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm here to answer your guys' fasting questions, talk a little bit about what I'm seeing in our community. We have hundreds of thousands of people that fast together, that ask fasting questions. Every single day, we get thousands of questions from you guys. And so it's interesting because a lot of times we will see that the questions are very similar and that you guys have needs for more information or more fasting tools. So I love coming to you on my weekly lives to help you customize fasting for your own health needs. Hopefully you guys that have been following me for a while, you know I am not a one size fits all type of believer. I feel like we all have to find our own path back to health, and fasting works. It works for the majority of people. Everybody just needs to find their personal groove with it. And we'll talk a little bit about that. When I look at the questions that came in this week, there were several questions about sleep. So I really want to talk about sleep and fasting. So if you have some fasting questions around sleep, put it in the chat. If I have time to address it, I will. Otherwise, I want to make sure that I, again, get to the questions that were asked, but also that we are teaching everybody new concepts. So, and you guys, let me know. Here's what's really cool. If you're just hopping on now, we just got done doing a 3-day water fast last week as a community. So I'll give you a little bit of an idea about how I clump my my information together. So once a month, we do a fast together. I call it Fast Training Week. And starting last April, I decided to go through the 6 different time fasts that I encourage you all to experiment with. So we started with intermittent fasting, did autophagy fasting. We talked about 24-hour, 36, 48, 72. So we just did the 3-day water fast. And I said this on Instagram. You guys blew me away. Like those of you that did the 3-day water fast, the results you got, so many of you, even if you didn't make it the 3 days, you talked about how you knew when to stop. I thought that was incredible. So I love that because that's feedback for me that you're taking this information, you're putting it to good use. So it's just really touching. So put in the comments if you did the 3-day water fast, what your experience was. If you only went last week, maybe you went 48 hours and decided it was time to break the fast. What was that like? I just love hearing how these fast training weeks work for you. Okay, before I launch into sleep and fasting, I again want to put some shout outs to some of you that are getting incredible results with fasting. And there were 4 in particular from our community over the last week. So Dada Todorovic said, I don't know, man or woman, but said, my first long fast and made it 50 hours. I feel clarity, happiness, and lost 6 pounds. Love it. Yvette Benjam says, so thrilled about my fasting wellness lifestyle I adopted almost 2 years ago. Weight loss was never my goal, but I've dropped 60 pounds since February 2020, which is incredible. We do here in my clinic monthly talks. Last night we did one on anxiety, and I met a woman who had been following me on YouTube, and just through looking at the YouTube videos, she dropped 18 pounds. I was like, that's amazing. This is how health should be like this, where you can go to these social media platforms, learn information, apply them, and get a result. I love that you guys are doing that. Okay. Then, let's see. Brooks Allen said, after accomplishing my first 72-hour fast, I am smiling from the inside out. Love that. I'm feeling incredibly proud of myself. My hormones feel balanced. My mind is sharp. My skin is glowing, decrease in inflammation, and I lost 4 kilograms. So let's talk about a couple of the comments that Brooke put in here. So skin changes. How many of you guys noticed changes to your skin after the fast last week? There's a lot of incredible information showing that when we do what we call inside out healthcare, we get a systemic result. So let me explain what that means. In outside in healthcare, what happens is that we say, I'm not feeling great in my body, so I better put something from the outside in. Now, this is a lot of how our sick care system has been developed. If I have high blood pressure, I get a blood pressure medication. If I'm depressed, I get an antidepressant. So this would be an example of outside in healthcare. And in some cases, that's life-saving and it's good. In chronic cases, we can miss the boat if we think that's the only solution. So I'm a huge advocate for inside out healthcare, where whenever a symptom appears, whenever the body is not functioning the way you want it to function, you ask yourself first, not what do I need to put from the outside in? You ask yourself first, what do I need to do on the inside so that I can become healthy from the inside out? So what happens when I hear somebody say, well, like in Brooke's case, she went on the 3-day water fast and her skin is glowing. Okay, so if you've had that, I see Debbie from my team just put in something about the changes she's noticed with her skin. If you've noticed so much with your skin as you fast, what I want you to realize is there is a reason for that. And the reason is that fasting changes your microbiome. And your microbiome, the bacteria in the gut, as they heal, you will see your skin change. So hopefully you guys know this, that acne, psoriasis, skin rashes, these are all signs of healing that needs to happen in the gut. So if you want to know what your gut looks like, look at your skin. So the more we bring back health to the gut, the more we bring back health to your skin. So it would be the best, instead of thinking what's the next thing I need to put on my skin, ask yourself if you're doing everything you possibly can to help your gut health so that your skin can change. So it's such an important point, especially for women, because a lot of the topical stuff we put on our skin is our endocrine disruptors, and they're leading to more of a hormonal mess than need be. So I love approaching skin from the inside out and starting with the gut. Okay, and then the last one before I dive into sleep and answer your guys' questions, Melissa Johnson said, intermittent fasting is a godsend. It's literally saving my life. Before the onset, check this out. This is really cool. Before the onset of COVID, I weighed 315 pounds, and my A1C was over 9. I was taking 2,000 milligrams of metformin per day and was on blood pressure medicine. It all started with a 72-hour fast. She started her journey like that. Amazing. I don't typically recommend you start your fasting journey with a 72-hour fast, but pretty cool that she did that. And after that, she decided not to take her metformin. I got excited when my blood sugar started to balance. It went to between 80 and 120. And since that experience, she's been intermittent fasting. She's now down to 263 from 315. And her A1C went down to 5. So cool, Melissa. And here's a couple lessons I want to say about Melissa's journey for all of us. When we are given diagnoses like diabetes, we have to, especially type 2 diabetes, we have to remember that there is always a lifestyle change that can happen that will overturn the damage that is causing that diagnosis, especially with chronic diseases. So what Melissa did is she jumped into a 72-hour fast right off the bat. I hope she had some coaching going through that, but it's still pretty amazing. She saw the change and then she made the modifications as she fasted more. If any of you guys that have type 2 diabetes, any of you who have a severe condition, I just really want to encourage you to always grab your doctor and bring your doctor along this journey with you. It's really important. The more severe your condition, as you start to fast, it's really important for you to be able to have that good communication with your doctor so that you stay safe. That's the big thing that I would take away from that. And remember, with medication, you never go off medication without consulting your doctor, the doctor that put you on that medication. Now, one thing to remember about fasting, especially we see it with metabolic syndrome, we see it with diabetes, we see it with cancer, is that there is a dysfunction that's been building in the body that leads to these diagnoses. So chronic disease, this is why I'm on a mission to get 1 million people fasting, because we can overturn chronic disease. Here in America, we've got 60% of Americans with one chronic disease, 40% with two chronic diseases. We've got 25% of our children with a chronic disease. This is not okay. Chronic disease, whenever you think chronic disease, you should think lifestyle. You should think, okay, what can I change in my lifestyle so that I can reverse this chronic disease? Now, this might not be the message you're getting from your doctor. You might walk into your doctor's office, they identify and diagnose the chronic disease, they give you a label, and then they give you a medication. Okay, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying it's an incomplete story. When you walk out with that medication, with that diagnosis, the first thing I want you to realize is that A, you are not your diagnosis. You are not your prognosis. You don't ever let anybody label you that way. And then B, I want you to ask yourself, what lifestyle changes do I need to make to reverse this condition? Because we're not telling people that they can start to reverse the damage of type 2 diabetes. Melissa's a great example of that. We're not telling people that there are cancer cells that there are healthy cells that turn into cancer cells, and there's a lifestyle you want to live so that those healthy cells don't turn into cancer cells. We're not. It's like the part of the story that is not getting out there. And the name of the game when it comes to these chronic conditions should be, okay, it should be like a wake-up call. Like, I got the diagnosis, I got the medication, let me take the medication, follow the doctor's protocol. At the same time, let me clean up my lifestyle, and then hopefully I can get off the medication. But there's no financial incentive on big pharma's end to get you off medication. So, and again, this is why we need your doctor involved in this, but we want to be able to use lifestyle as a tool to not be dependent on some of these medications, some of these conditions we've been labeled with. We want to use lifestyle to be able to heal the body. And honestly, nothing heals the body as well as fasting. You take food out of the equation and your body knows what to do. It's crazy. And you guys are an incredible example of that. Okay, let's dive into sleep. And then I want to go to your questions, the ones that got sent in. Here's something I want you to think about sleep. And I just went through this with my group that in the Toxin Reset that I'm detoxing people. We talked about melatonin. Now, melatonin is the hormone that is going to make you sleepy so that you're going to want to go to sleep. And melatonin is sensitive to one major thing. And I just think this one thing is not being given enough credit, and it is light. So when you wake up in the morning, you see the sunrise, that red light in the sky, that beautiful sunrise that makes you go, oh, I love that. That gets signaled by your eyes and goes back into the pineal gland. And in the pineal gland, that will signal for the pineal gland to make melatonin. Okay. Then the sun comes fully up. The day we go around our day with bright light, light shining on us. If you get out in the middle of the day and you see that bright light, once again, you're telling that pineal gland, hey, it's noon right now. It's 1. The pineal gland is knowing when it needs to release the melatonin that it made in the morning. So the morning sunrise helps the pineal gland make the melatonin. The midday helps the pineal gland know where it is in the daylight. And then the sunset, that red light sunset, will release that melatonin into your system. Now, there's a couple of things that affect this and throw off our circadian rhythm, and now we're not wanting to sleep. So the first is not getting outside enough throughout the day. So are you getting out in the middle of the day, going for a walk without your sunglasses and making sure that your eyes are registering light? Second thing, Are you getting up in the morning when the sun is coming up so that your eyes are seen? And are you getting, like I have a spot in my backyard. It works best if you're outside. So get outside and see that red light. If that's not possible, it's too cold. You can't get up at that time. I saw somebody just ask about night workers. Then this is where red light therapy really comes into handy. So you want to have like a Juve light I did this just this morning. I got up when it was dark. I didn't have time to go out into my backyard and do my morning ritual. So I put the Juve light for 10 minutes on my face, let my eyes, your eyes will register it through closed eyes. And I let that red light come on my face. So my body knew, hey, it's morning time, make some melatonin. So we want red in the morning. Now at night, let's do the same thing. Let's go out in the sunset and let's make sure that you're seeing the red light. And then when you come back in, this was the part that's crucial. You've got to make sure that you're not getting blue light. So if you go out, walk the dog, it's sunset, and then you come back in and then you go right to your phone or your TV and you're getting blue light, you shut down the release of melatonin. So when it comes to sleep, what I just told you is like the basic, most important thing to know. Now, I just did a whole sleep course in my Reset Academy. So if you need more assistance with sleep, every sleep hack, and I've studied sleep a lot in my through my menopausal journey. So you can join the Reset Academy, and that course will be up soon in the academy. But start with light. Let's start by regulating light. Okay. Now, second question we want to ask ourselves around sleep is what's the purpose of sleep? Now, sleep is when you repair. And I want to remind you that there are several repair mechanisms that are happening. The first is autophagy, which we love autophagy, right? I mean, we're all fasting to stimulate autophagy, but you're getting autophagy when you are sleeping as well, which is awesome. So the old neurons in the brain are going to be repaired. The internal mechanism inside the cells starts to repair. Fasting, by the way, is the best form of autophagy, but sleep is also creating an effect on autophagy. So first, when you sleep, you're getting autophagy. Okay, second thing is that when you go into a deep sleep, this is somewhere between an hour to 2 hours, that is when the vesicles in your brain, the ventricles in your brain, they will actually shrink. And when they're shrinking on purpose so that the cerebral spinal fluid in your spine can go up, nourish your brain, and detoxify you. So we want somewhere between 1 to 2 hours of deep sleep. I use my Whoop to tell me my deep sleep every night. That is a number I track every night. You have an Oura ring, it will tell you deep sleep as well. Okay, third thing that happens so we're detoxing, we're stimulating autophagy, and then the third thing is you want to look at your REM sleep. So REM, we should be getting at least about 90 minutes of REM sleep, and usually REM sleep happens in 30-minute chunks. REM sleep is super important for memory and learning. So it will affect the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that is the most active when we're learning, when we're problem solving. It helps with neuron repair when we're in a REM sleep. So those of you that are students or you're learning a new concept, really recommend that you make sure you're getting enough REM sleep. And the way you tell all of this is through these biometric wearables. Again, I kind of like Whoop because you can buy all the little pretty bands with it. Some of you have Oura, that's great, but tracking your sleep is really important. Now, why am I setting it up like this for those of you to understand around fasting? When we fast, we're stimulating autophagy. When we fast, we are detoxing the cell. When we fast, we are creating new neurons and repairing dead old neurons in the brain. This is very much like what is happening when we sleep. So for some of you, as you're building these fasting lifestyles, I think what you're going to start to notice is that you need less sleep. And this over time, if fasting is healing you, your brain and body may say, I don't need as much sleep because I'm healing during the day. Now, we talk a lot about how food heals, and it does, but it's not the same type of healing. I think of food as building up your body. So if you need more hormones, you can build up the hormones by the foods you eat. If you need more muscle, you can increase protein. You're going to build up more muscle. If you need more good bacteria in your gut, you're going to add things like sauerkraut in. We're going to build up the good bacteria in your gut. So think of food as, what do I want to build? If you go to a fast food restaurant every single day, you're building disease. So if you're eating the bad oils, you're eating a lot of sugar, you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, you're building disease. So when you look at your food today, ask yourself, what am I building? When you're fasting, ask yourself, what am I repairing? It's like a different take on autophagy and mTOR. So what a lot of you notice is you need less sleep because you're repairing during your waking hours as well. So do not beat yourself up. If you go into these longer fasts and you don't sleep as well, there's a good chance it's because your body doesn't need it. So I'm not suggesting we should all be sleeping 4 or 5 hours every single night, but the more you fast, you might notice that it's harder to sleep. And I would just encourage you, again, to not beat yourself up. And then I also want you to encourage you to look at your foods as, what are you building today? Okay, here are the questions that we had. The first question was, how can you sleep again after menopause? So a couple of thoughts on menopausal sleep. When you are losing your sleep during menopause, whether it's peri, in the middle, or post, it is because you are losing a hormone called progesterone. So progesterone really has an impact on our sleep. And I've talked about how we can lean into some hormone feasting foods, the squashes, the potatoes, citrus fruit, tropical fruits. Leaning into more of those are going to help with progesterone production. Keeping stress under control. So if you're a perimenopausal woman, I think this one was after menopause. So postmenopausal, stress is still going to impact the little bit of progesterone that you're still getting. So minding your stress, and make sure you're not stressing your body through too much exercise or too much fasting. That is key as well. And then there are other nutrients that is going to help with sleep. I'm finding the most helpful nutrient for all menopausal women, especially postmenopausal women, is magnesium. So my favorite magnesium is by Upgraded Labs. And I'm actually doing the liquid lately, where I put it just under my tongue right before I go to bed. They also have just capsules. And that link, you can find magnesium on my website. It'll take you to my favorite. Just type in magnesium and you'll see a link for that. But if you're a menopausal woman and you're struggling, I really encourage you to up your magnesium. I encourage you to bring cortisol levels down, and then try a couple. Make sure you're not fasting too much, that you're adding some of these hormone feasting days in. Okay. Second question was, what are your thoughts on vegetables? Are they good or bad for us? Such a good question. Okay. General idea is that the foods that come from nature, as humans, we are meant to live in symbiosis with nature. So nature provides us so many incredible things. Nature provides us microbes that keep us happy and support a healthy immune system. Nature grows fruits and vegetables for us that all have different nutrients that support our cellular health. So I am about protecting and honoring nature and making sure that we get enough of nature's resources. So I am not a believer we need to be getting rid of vegetables. Now, I will tell you that I had a really cool conversation with Dr. Stephen Gundry about the oxalate and lectin idea in vegetables. You guys can go listen to that on the Resetter podcast. And the idea, the question I had for him is, if you are a healthy person with good gut health, are you going to react to oxalates and lectins? And his response was, no, if your gut is healthy, you should do okay with vegetables. Now, I 100% agree with that. 100%. We do not need to start villainizing vegetables. And if you are a menopausal woman, you need more vegetables. You need, and women in general, we need more vegetables um, to be able to break down estrogen, to help us detoxify, to feed the good bacteria that support GABA production, that keeps us calm. So vegetables are awesome, and I worry that the message some of you guys are getting is that vegetables are the enemy. I strongly disagree with that. So if you have SIBO, if you have a severe leaky gut, you may benefit from getting off vegetables for a little while, but then let's repair your gut so you can get back on those vegetables, because they're so important for so many things. So that's how I feel about vegetables. Now, the other thing I will tell you on vegetables is that you want to vary the vegetables you eat. So when I sit down with like a salad, I try to put all different kinds of lettuce in there. I love to put mint in my salad. I put basil in my salad. I'm always trying to put something new, because each vegetable is going to feed your bacteria in your gut differently. You have over 6,000 different strains of bacteria in your gut. And if you're eating the same foods over and over and over again, you're creating what we call a monoculture, where you're strengthening one set of bacteria and you're starving out the others. So the name of the game when it comes to vegetable is diversity, as many different types of vegetables as you possibly can get. And again, I think women, especially postmenopausal women, and women going through menopause, we need it more than ever before. Okay, next one. Ooh, what are your thoughts on seltzer water? Is it good for you? Does it keep you hydrated? Ooh, this is a whole nother deep question. Ready for this? You guys probably have heard me say this before. Just because you drink water doesn't mean you're hydrated, right? Like, if you are a menopausal woman trying to get more hydration to your skin, just drinking water is not the solution. You've got to make sure your mineral balance is up. This is why I'm such a fan of Element. I'm put it in every single day. I got it when I'm drinking today, put it right in a bottle, and I'm all day long making sure I drink a packet a day. So if you want to be hydrated, you need to drink water and you need to be upping your mineral content. Now, seltzer water, especially in a fast, let's talk about that for a moment. When we look at the fasting studies that I've shared with you guys, remember that they were done in a very controlled environment. So they didn't give them, like, when they took like thousands of people and said, you're going to fast for 13 hours, they didn't say, here, you can have some seltzer water. They said, let's just give you water. And so if we're trying to mimic a study, like there's a great study right now that I've been geeking out on, over 2,000 women. I got to point this out because it's too good. Over 2,000 women they studied. That is a large study, and that is a woman study. That is amazing. So over 2,000 women were studied, and what they found, and they were women that had gone through traditional cancer treatment for breast cancer. And they wanted to see if these women elongated their fasting window to 13 hours. So they were taking them from like an 8 or 9 hour fasting window and moving them to a 13-hour fast. Would they prevent the reoccurrence of breast cancer? And the answer is yes. 64% less reoccurrence of breast cancer. That's huge. If you are just elongating your fasting window to 13 hours. So incredible study. Now, what did they do? What did they drink in that window? Study didn't say. I've looked at that study over and over again. So they probably only drank water. Just want to say that. So when we step out of the science and go, okay, well, what about seltzer water? Or what about coffee? What about tea? The common sense part of me says we're trying to build fasting lifestyles. So rigidity is not going to lead us to long-term success with building a fasting lifestyle. This is why I love the fasting variation that I teach you guys. So seltzer water in a person who's trying to build a fasting lifestyle in your fasting window sounds fine to me. I don't see a problem with it. I do know that not all seltzer waters are made the same. I'm a big fan of Gerolsteiner because it has more minerals. So I would say, yeah, have it, but then also know that there's a chance that if you're trying to mimic a study, in the study, they didn't do seltzer water. So, okay. Is it normal to see changes in bowel movements when you start fasting? Yes. And let me tell you why. Fasting changes the microbiome better than any tool I've ever seen, better than a probiotic, better than an enzyme, better than a supplement of any kind. Fasting changes the microbiome so well. So when those microbiome changes happen as you're fasting more and more, you're going to get old bacteria that are no longer serving you. You're going to get those dying off, and new bacteria are going to grow, and they're going to serve you well, and you're going to flourish. So that is awesome, and we want that. But in that transition from the old stuff coming off and the new stuff being built, you might notice two things. Well, three things. One, you might notice diarrhea. Okay, diarrhea just is a sign that the old bacteria is coming out. Just sit tight. As you fast more, that should be temporary. Second, you might notice constipation. Same thing. Constipation is a sign of detox. Your body's not only getting rid of the bad bacteria, but maybe it's getting rid of some of the toxins that have accumulated in your body. So it's a toxic dump. So let's make sure we get your bowels going, because we don't want to let those toxins stay in there. And then the third thing that we see a lot in fasters is something called SIBO, where in the beginning, as you start fasting, you get really bloated. And that just is bad bacteria in the wrong part. And sometimes it's good bacteria in the wrong part of your intestinal tract, your small intestine. I have found two really great solutions for the bloating, the longer fast of about 24 hours. And some people do really well with the carnivore diet to overcome those SIBO type symptoms. So those are typically the three changes that are happening when your bowels are changing as you go into building a fasting lifestyle. Now, in some of you, you're just not eating as much food, so you don't have as much to excrete. And that might be part of the issue as well. But hopefully you guys know I love the checklists. I'm a checklist gal. Whenever I have a complicating scenario in my life, or I'm working with a patient, I come up with, let's try this, and then this, and then this. That way we don't get lost in get overwhelmed in too many options. So there's my checklist for your gut. Okay. Now, the next question is, why would I suffer from mitochondrial issues? This is also a really good question. So the mitochondria are much like the outside of your cells. And I want to tell you a couple of the three things food-wise that your mitochondria really need you to pay attention to. And it's the same thing that I've talked about over and over again, that these three foods are destroying everybody's health. So it's the bad oils, it's the refined carbohydrates and sugars, and it's the toxins. That will destroy cellular health. That will destroy mitochondrial health very, very quickly. And this is the root of why you would build chronic disease. Now, when we fast, one of the reasons I love fasting so much is we make ketones. And ketones can go into those mitochondria and repair them very, very fast. So we want to be able to start to do this metabolic switching so that we can get ketones in this fat burner system so that we can repair mitochondria. The reason most people have mitochondria damage, which is contributing to low energy, making it so that people don't heal as well. Think about how much energy your brain needs. Any body part that needs energy needs healthy mitochondria. And the reason so many people are suffering with mitochondria health, to this person's question, is that they are eating the wrong oils. They're eating too many refined carbohydrates. They're toxifying their skin with beauty products, household cleaners. They're toxifying their gut with synthetic ingredients, with glyphosate, and those mitochondria are powering down. So it is modern living that is contributing to this. So as we apply, let's get rid of those 3 ingredients. Let's fast more. Let's make more ketones. You start repairing the mitochondria, which is why so many of you feel energy, better mental clarity because of that mitochondrial research. So hope that explains. The mitochondria is so massively important. Can you drink kombucha to break a fast as part of your fermented prebiotic foods? So the answer is yes. You can break it with kombucha. The only trick I would say is notice how you feel after the kombucha. So if after the kombucha you are feeling like your blood sugar spiked too high, or you're feeling really hungry, it's very possible that the kombucha had too much sugar in it. Now, in the making of kombucha, what they're trying to do is burn off the sugar. So anybody who's made kombucha before will tell you that you add sugar to a tea and then you ferment that. And so in the fermentation process, that sugar should be burned off. But not all kombuchas are like that. So you might have to work with a lower sugared kombucha. I do like it for breaking a fast. The other thing I would say is remember that as much as kombucha is easy and refreshing and fun to drink, it doesn't pack that same probiotic punch that like raw kefir does or sauerkraut. So its probiotic contributions are very small, unfortunately, but it's fun to drink. Okay. I'll add lots of minerals and somebody's still experiencing hair loss and they're adding all the minerals in. Okay. So we got 3 things I would tell you on that. One is the minerals. You're already doing that. The second thing that contributes to hair loss is heavy metals. I just got off a really fun conversation with Dr. Laura Bryden. She wrote a really cool book called The Hormone Repair Manual. And we were talking about how lead gets dumped into our system when we go through periods, especially for women, when we go through periods of high hormonal fluctuations. So puberty, pregnancy, perimenopause. And what happens is when lead gets stored in skeletal tissues, it's stored in your bones. So when it comes out of your bones because of these hormonal swings, what will happen is it will go up into the brain and it will start to slow down neural transmission of information. So it affects things like memory. It affects your ability to, when you're talking, you might be like, what was I saying? It can affect sleep. But this is my point on minerals, is that lead can actually sit in a receptor site for things like magnesium and zinc. So when you hear me say, okay, minerals are your solution to helping your hair, and you do that, and it's not the solution, then the second thing you've got to look at is your heavy metal load. And you can go to my website. We do heavy metal tests there. We have a health coach that'll read it for you. So just go to the website. The information is there. And I want you, those of you who've been trying the mineral trick and it's not working, this is your second thing, is test your heavy metals. Now, the third thing that it could be is your thyroid. And I'm a fan. There are 11 different tests that I like people to get on thyroid production. Looking at just TSH doesn't make sense. We've got to look at several things. We got to look at T3, T4. We've got to look at antibodies. I mean, the list is long. And I wrote that list out. If you just go to my website and you put in thyroid tests, you'll see I have an article with all those tests. Take those tests to your doctor, see if they'll run them. And you'll have a better idea if it's a thyroid issue. So hair loss is 3 things: minerals, heavy metals, or thyroid. End of story. Those are like the 3 things. It's got to be one of those 3 things. And the other trick you can do is the Dutch test will get you an idea as well. If your thyroid's off, if you're a poor methylator where you can't excrete some of these metals out. So that would be another resource for you guys. Okay. And then the last question. It's so funny because I think my staff knows what I want to answer. So I get a list ahead of time, and yeah, I think they knew I was going to be excited about this comment. What are my thoughts on regenerative agriculture? Now, this really ties into the mineral issue. Here's why everybody's so mineral deficient. Our soils that our wonderful food is being grown in are more mineral depleted than ever before, especially if you're getting it from a conventional farm. Okay, how do you know if you're getting it from a conventional farm? You walk in to your grocery store and look at where was it brought from. A lot, like I always try to shop local. So in our mainstream markets, most of those are going to be conventional farms. I'll tell you a little bit of a pet peeve for me right now. I loved my local Whole Foods. For those of you that have a Whole Foods around you, I loved it until Amazon bought them. And then once Amazon bought them, the vegetables tasted different. I react to them different, and I am strongly feel like they're probably coming from a larger conventional farm with less minerals. So we're getting more of our vegetables now from the farmers market, specifically from farmers that do regenerative agriculture. And what regenerative agriculture is it's letting the land be as natural to its original state as possible. A great resource for you guys is Rodell Institute. We're also huge fans of Farmer's Footprint, which is Zach Bush's passion. We've got to get back to taking amazing care of our soil. In our conventional farms, we're monocropping. We're constantly tilling and spraying the soil till it literally has no good bacteria. It has no minerals in it. In a regenerative farm, they are allowing weeds to grow. They are not spraying. They allow cows to poop on it. All of this is contributing to the mineral richness of the soil. And when you are growing vegetables in that, you are going to have more minerals in your vegetables. It's that simple. Oh, somebody on here is a regenerative farmer. I love it. So that is what we want to support. I would encourage you to support regenerative farmers. They are going to save the human race at this point. The overcropping, the monocropping, the way we overtill our soils is killing us. And we want to get back to the basics. And the basics say we should have food that comes from mineral-rich soils. So something to think about. Okay. That was a lot. I see a lot of your guys' questions on here. I'm going to give you a little bit about what's coming down the road for what you'll be seeing on YouTube, what you'll be seeing in the next fast training week. The fat burner reset for September has already started. It's closed down, so we're not taking anybody new into it, but you can join our academy still and get this new sleep course there. Next month, you guys, I got to tell you that like the 3-day water fast was a little bit of a test to see if people would be responsible. And I was so happy that you guys were responsible with the 3-day water fast, because now I want to go dive into dry fasting. Now, dry fasting is a shorter fast. So we're going to look at more of like a 12-hour fasting window, but it's no food, no water. And there's incredible research on dry fasting that pertains to brain health, specifically a nutrient called BDNF, which is fertilizer for the brain. So get ready. I'm about to give you a ton of resources on dry fasting. But again, it requires that everybody play with me safely. I do not believe, and I'm just going to say this now, and I will continue to say this as we move into the next fast training week next month. I do not believe in a dry fast longer than 24 hours. I know that there's some YouTube, docs out there that are encouraging people to go 5-6 days without water. That makes no sense. I do not advocate for that. So, but dry fasting, short dry fast can be incredible for brain health. It can also be incredible for burning fat. So I want to teach you guys that in October. The other thing is, women, I got more videos coming out on YouTube at the end of this month that's going to be specifically on fasting for women. So stay tuned for that. And as always, whenever you guys come to any of my videos, if you see something that you have a great story to tell about fasting, please put it in the comments, because this is how people start to see the impact that fasting can make. Sound good? Okay. As always, you guys are amazing. And those of you in my academy, my fat burner, I'll see you there. I'll be back with you guys next week. And just keep telling your stories, keep asking your questions, and whatever you do, don't give up on yourself. Don't ever buy into a diagnosis or a prognosis that tells you you're not powerful. You are ridiculously powerful. It's just nobody ever taught you how to access that power. So, as always, have an awesome day.